Hey y'all, welcome to the Coyote Trapping School podcast. I am your host, Chris Pope, here from the Coyote Trapping School World Headquarters, the Fur Shed. Coming at you, continuing our series on starting, growing, building a wildlife control business. First off, got a couple of exciting announcements. So, of course, we want to thank our sponsors, Coyote Bros Lures. Here it is. Man, the year is half over. We're in June. And yeah, that means we only got 6 more months. Heck, what, 3, 4 months? Anyway, we're getting darn close to trapping season, which means you probably need your trap. You need to re-inventory your trapping equipment, baits, lures, etc. And make sure you got your dye and wax, whatever you use to treat your traps. Make sure you got all that stuff ready to go. Get your traps ready early on. Coyote Bros can hook you up with all that stuff. Get some good lures. We still got some time to order some books or videos to set yourself up for success in this coming up trapping season. So I'd encourage you, check out Coyote Bros Lures. They've got some deals going on. I don't know that they've got anything going on right now, but usually every month they have something going on, whether it's a special on a product. So be sure to sign up for their email list. And if you talk to them, tell them you heard about it from the Coyote Trapping School podcast. Definitely always is good to hear where people are coming from and know that their advertising is working as intended. So support those that support us, Coyote Bros, definitely. Also, I've got something I'm super excited about. It seems really weird when you see what it is, but it's one of my best ideas. That sounds, I guess it is one of my best ideas of how to use fur, right? So I got this tan fur. I got a bunch of tan fur hanging right here. And I've got a bunch of salted fur outside that I'm getting ready to send off to get tanned. Fur market is who knows where it's at. I really actually need to check because I didn't even realize that Fur Harvesters went ahead with their sale until I was listening to Jeremiah Wood's Trapping Today podcast. And I had some NAFA fur that I'd shipped to NAFA there. I don't know if that's sold or not. I need to log into my account and see. Anyway, especially if you're in the South, nobody knows what to do with fur. It's up in the air. If you're new to trapping, you don't know what to do with fur. And so I've been getting some fur tanned. It's been all personal fur so far, but trying to figure out something to do with it. I've had really good success with my beaver tail tan stuff and selling beaver tail wallets. I got a pile of them right there that I'm getting ready for Father's Day. But that's still not fur, right? So I've struggled trying to come up with a product that would be applicable and usable to folks down here in the South, right? Because nobody down in the South is wearing fur jackets or wants a fur blanket on their bed because it's just hot, it's hot enough without that stuff. And so this my best idea so far. And man, I'm wide open for ideas. I've had some folks, mention like some of the mountain man type stuff, and I've seen some pretty cool quivers made out of like whole coyote hides and stuff that I think would be awesome if you can get plugged into the mountain man scene. I'm not there yet, but that's definitely some thought. But in going along with my leather work, and I'm unveiling a lot of times. I apologize, but a lot of times y'all on the podcast and the video see stuff after I've shared it on Instagram and Facebook, and so I purposefully held this off so y'all can be the first to see the debut of. So check this out. This is my women's leather bag trimmed in gray fox. So I want to do. I did a vote on who thought would look better with the fur, with the leather, gray fox or red fox. So I still got to do a red fox because I think that's going to be jam up. And then I've got some other. I don't have a good, but it's this darker, kind of a little bit of a distressed kind of leather. I think that's going to look jam up too, but this is kind of a little bit glossy. It's kind of a big purse tote bag. This is the size that my wife carried, so that's kind of what I based it off of. I actually made her one without the fur because I hadn't had this. Didn't get that far. I made her one for Christmas, but it's got a big front pocket here for storage, and then a big open area. But then it's also got a little side pocket here, convenient to drop your cell phone in, maybe your wallet, and a big open area easily can be carried over the shoulder. But man, I'm super excited about this. Got some good brass rings, a heavy duty handle. So that's one thing that I figured out with hers, the strap. I didn't do it heavy duty enough. This strap ain't going nowhere, I can promise you. You know, I am super excited about this. I hadn't even posted it for sale or anything, but so this is that's what I said. It's going to be kind of weird, but my best idea for doing stuff with fur is creating women's products. If y'all got some ideas about men's products, lay them on me. But I don't see too many men running around with fur stuff, and so this is it. So I'm pretty excited about this. Hope I can get some good reception. Y'all let me know what you think, because I think my wallets and my wallets have sold really good. The leather stuff in general, I've been really impressed with and had good luck with, and so I think you know, coming out with kind of a women's line tailored to women and trying to tie in the fur too. I don't know. I hope it's gonna do good. And you know, my intent long term is to be able to start buying fur from other folks, right, and create our own fur market. Maybe it'll happen, maybe it won't, but I'm trying. Hey, you got to try. So give me some feedback. Let me know what you think. I have been super pumped about that. It's been all I could do. I had the bag made for a little while, and I had to get the handle made. But man, I like it. I'm excited about it. So let me think. Super weird for a guy to be excited about a purse, but I am. So if you see me wandering around anywhere with a nice fur leather bag, you'll know that nobody else wanted to buy it, so I had to carry it around myself. But anyway, that was my really exciting announcement. Like I said, hit me up. Let me know. I got to get in the works if I can. I just need like 20 more hours in the day, and I might get caught up on all the things that I'd like to get caught up on. But definitely want to roll out. You know, do a couple other. I got a coyote that I think would be good trimmed, and just a little bit of everything. So always got something in the works. Always up for ideas. Let me know. The next thing is I'm looking for somebody, and this is going to tie in actually with our topic for today. But I'm looking for somebody who's wanting to write some articles. So I'm looking specifically about it's for my nuisance, my wildlife control website. So one of the things that I'm wanting to do there is build out the content on there. I've written a couple articles, but I need more content, and I just told you that I need about 20 more hours in the day, and I ain't found that yet. So if I can find somebody that's willing to put in a little bit of research, it's not super in-depth articles. It's kind of a general article about specific species that, you know, somebody that has flying squirrels in their attic that may Google that and, you know, give them a little information about the flying squirrels. The key is there that it has the information and keywords that if somebody in my area Googles flying squirrels in attic, ideally, because of the content, which we're fixing to talk about, it's going to push them to my site versus somebody else's site. So if you are interested in getting a little side income, if the corona's got you locked down at home still or whatever, and you're interested in making a little side income, send me an email, Chris, K-R-I-S, at coyotetrappingschool.com. I'm looking for somebody to write some articles for me, for sure, for my wildlife control website, but maybe even for Coyote Trapping School too. I haven't done a lot with that website, honestly. I've been posting content, posting podcasts and videos, but I need to do more on the website itself. Also, I guess another thing is I've had a few questions about the short liner bag. So I actually, as we speak, it is July 3rd. I just ordered more material for that. I found somebody that's going to sew it for me. Fingers crossed. So I'm hoping to have new stock of those bags here. Hopefully by the end of June, I'll start having some in stock and be able to sell. So, man, I appreciate all the folks that used them, bought them last year. I appreciate the heck out of that. And let me know. I'll hopefully have them posted back on the website soon and be able to buy again. I got a lot of good positive feedback, and something that I really enjoyed, and it's just fun to create something and people value it. So, all right, that is going to lead us into today's topic, and it's leads. So this continues along in our wildlife control business podcast series. You got to have calls to have a business, right? To have people to sell to. How do you start? How do you get calls? How do you get leads? As that's the lingo, the terms leads. Um, Starting out for me, back when I first started trapping and first got the idea of owning my own business, having a nuisance trapping business, being around some of the other older trappers that had their own business, I'd ask them just in passing, how do you get where do you get your business from? How do you advertise? And most of the time they said just word of mouth. And man, I always hated that answer because these are guys that have been established. They've been in an area. Their kids have grown up in an area. I mean, they've been in an area a while, so people know them. They know people. People know them. But for somebody new to the game, new to an area, you got to start somewhere, right? Word of mouth don't do you a whole lot. You don't have anybody to give you word of mouth, and that takes time to build. That's the best advertising because it's free, and if you do a good job and have a good reputation, then it's going to come. But you can't start a business on word of mouth. You got to have something to get that started. And so basically, there's two kinds of ways to go about it. And I'm not sure if I'm discounting this. I'm not sure where this comes from, but I mean, the only ways that I'm thinking are online ways. You can, buy billboards and radio ads, I guess, and put your ad in the newspaper. But in my opinion, if you're not online, you don't really exist. And I would say that goes for a lot of people. At least if you're targeting, the residential aspect of squirrels, raccoons, bats, things like that in people's homes and in people's attics. If you're trying to target large landowners and hogs, coyotes, and beavers, things like that, having a web presence may not be that big of an issue. But if you're targeting residential areas, I think you're going to have a web presence. And so that's kind of what I'm making an assumption as a starting point, is that you've got a website. And so from there, I would say you got two options. You've got organic and paid. So organic is obviously free. So that's things you do on your website. And I say website, it could be through social media or whatever. But that's things you do that put content out there to help people find you that doesn't necessarily cost you anything. Now it's going to cost you up front. It's going to cost you time in building these things out. And that's really the difference between the two is organic. It may not cost you any money initially, but it's going to take time, time that you input into building content, if you will, and then it's going to take time for that content to be searched and found and grow. And then the other option is you pay for it and you start getting leads right away. You start getting calls right away. And that all depends on your business model, how you're running your business, and what you have available as to which direction you want to go. I think probably most of us would agree in the long run, not having to pay for leads and not having to pay for calls is the best option. So, the way I have been taking it is kind of a two-pronged approach, is, trying to build out, an organic strategy for the long term, but in the short term, I'm trying to buy ads and get customers that hopefully get me word of mouth referrals. And both of those things together are going to combine to in the future. I may not have to, hopefully won't have to be, running those ads and paying for that advertising. So please understand, as with all this, I'm still figuring this stuff out. This is just some of my learning, some of my, I feel pretty well versed in the organic side and the online side, just because I've been dealing with websites since 2013. That stuff is not real new to me, and through coyote trapping school, and that's how I got started in all this, is my interest in trying to build a presence online. And so but absolutely, it's taken time. And so one of the keys with the organic reach And the organic building is what you'll hear people refer to as SEO, or search engine optimization. And that is making sure your website has content that Google or whatever, Bing or whoever, but the dominant player is Google, right? Making sure your website has content that Google reads and sees as valuable to try to show people when they search for certain terms. So if you're in, I'm in Georgia, Atlanta's a big city, right? So if you're in Atlanta and you're wanting to do squirrel trapping, having content on your website that is local in a sense that you mention, the Atlanta area specifically, and then relevant in that, it's talking about squirrels and talking about it in a natural way, and having, kind of multiple pieces of content, even, having video. So that's one thing that I'm trying to do now is, and it's a little bit tricky because when you're dealing with other people's houses and things, how do you you got to work around that, but dealing with trying to generate multiple forms of content to help improve your search engine optimization, because what somebody in your area is going to put in, if they hear something in the attic, they might type in squirrels in attic. They might not even type in their location, but if it's using their location, it may still bring up, it's going to still bring up somebody, right? And so if you can be the top 1 or 2 or 3 person that comes up in that search, then there's a good chance you're getting clicked on. But if you're not, if you're on the 8th or 10th page or even the 2nd page, odds are nobody's ever going to see your website, and you're never going to get a call from that person. That's ultimately what the organic strategy is trying to build out content so that when people search certain terms, your website is shown to them, and hopefully they use your website, right? They call you about that issue. And so there's multiple ways to go about that. Like I said, a lot of it is going to hinge around content that's on your website that's specific to your area, and then also to the animal. So if you're trying to target squirrels and flying squirrels and exclusion in Atlanta, Georgia, then you need to have some content on your website that talks about flying squirrels in Atlanta, Georgia, and what you do about it, and all that. Now, a customer may not even read any of that, but if they search in Google Maps flying squirrel removal, Atlanta, Georgia, if your website is one of those top websites, then they may call you without even looking at the content. But you got to have something there so that Google pulls you up versus somebody else, because there's a lot of other people that are vying for that top space in Google, and there's a whole industry around search engine optimization. And as soon as you have a website, you're going to start getting people calling you, trying to sell you their services on SEO and helping your website rank better in Google and all this. And honestly, I don't see a whole lot of value. I shouldn't say that. There is value in what they're offering, because in some cases what they're offering is beneficial. But some of it is some of it could be managed internally, could be managed yourself if you know a little bit about websites, and some of it is just too much. But that's neither here nor there. You're going to start getting calls as soon as you got a website. You're going to start getting calls about people wanting to manage your social media, manage your website, manage your leads, help you with ads, whatever. So one big free option that you should be taking advantage of is your Google My Business listing. So if you have a Google My Business listing, and some businesses have it without even knowing it. And so what you do is you have to claim your Google My Business listing, but it's basically kind of like a social media page through Google, I guess. You can post photos, and that's where people can review you, and that is a pretty good, pretty key way to kind of get free traffic. And that's one thing that you can get the Google My Business app on your phone, and from there you can send people links to give you reviews. You can post photos and stuff, content, and all that stuff is going to help when somebody searches Flying Squirrels Athens, Georgia, or Atlanta, Georgia, and your Google listing, if it's optimized, it maybe pops up before one of your other competitors, and there's a click to call button and right there, and so that's definitely something I would encourage folks to try to make sure that you're optimizing and targeting, is that Google My Business listing as a free way. Then of course you got your social media things, Facebook, Instagram. If you've got those pages set up as business pages, they're going to get very minimal organic traffic, because Google is throttling those to encourage people with business pages to pay for ads. Not Google, but Facebook is encouraging people, trying to push people to pay for ads to get their content shown. So that's, in my opinion, that's not necessarily something that's going to be a great conversion. I don't know that it probably adds a little bit. If you've got an active Facebook page, maybe Google sees that and that helps you rank more. I've been told that before. I don't know that for sure. One thing, like I mentioned before, that I'm trying to start doing more of is I'm going to kind of create a whole separate YouTube page and kind of target that around the nuisance stuff and the wildlife stuff, and trying to be informative, but being able to tag your certain location, because YouTube is owned by Google, right? And so I think that stuff, again, this stuff is not necessarily something that's going to drive you traffic next month, but next year it very well could. And so that's the main thing with the organic stuff, is looking long term and trying to put the work in now to help that stuff in the future. Another thing so I did an interview with Frank Cisa of Wildman Trapping and Wildlife Exclusion, Wildman Wildlife Trapping and Exclusion. That'll probably go up after this episode's posted, but he mentioned asking your customers to post to like the Nextdoor app and things like that, kind of the local listings. And man, that's a great free idea. So I would definitely, that's something I'm definitely gonna be doing more of, is asking folks, especially if you're in a neighborhood, because there's always somebody that's having issues, and maybe they haven't reached out yet, but they know they hear something, and the husband's trying to put it off, and so that's definitely something that I intend to put into practice, and I thank Frank for sharing that with us. So the other option for getting more leads is paying for them, right? And so like I said before, once you kind of have a business listing, you're going to start getting calls, and some of the calls are going to be folks trying to grow your website and grow your organic reach. And I say organic reach, but they're really wanting you to pay for them to produce content and stuff like that for you. And then there's some of them that are going to want you to kind of advertise with them. And so the ones that kind of I have experience with early on, when I kind of started my business, I was contacted by Home Advisor, which is also owns Angie's List, and so it's lead generation. I guess one of the convenient things about that, so you can set your service area, you can set a budget of how much you want to spend. It's pretty quick to turn leads off. So if you're going to be on vacation, or you just don't want to get any calls for the next couple of days, you can turn leads off. Now, through the app, it'll only let you turn leads off for 2 days, I think. If you want to turn them off for longer, you have to call. It's still automated, but you have to call. And so that is pretty convenient, to have that access to turn on and off. And and I've got to say, it's the way Home Advisor works is you pay kind of a yearly fee, and then you also pay per lead. Now they've got different tiers of leads. And I can't remember what they call all of them, but there's one tier of leads where somebody comes on there and requests a service. They'll send that lead to 3 or 4 other companies, and it's up to you, one, to respond in a timely manner, and then sell yourself, or do what you can to win the job. And then so you pay a little bit less for that, and all the prices vary based on the region and the competition. And then they have what they call exact match leads. So that's leads that only get sent to you. Of course, you pay more for them. The other good thing that I like about Home Advisor is that you can request refunds. So if you get a bogus call that you don't think you should have gotten, you can request refunds. Now, that being said, I've gotten multiple kind of junk leads, and after so many, your refund requests are getting denied because you've had too many. And so that's a little bit frustrating, because you wind up paying for leads that were no good, but you're going to wind up doing that anyway, to some extent. So I would say with Home Advisor, and when I was looking up initially, one of the reviews that I saw from a contractor said that it was decent for folks getting started, but once you get started and get some word of mouth and some references going, then that's probably the better option, is word of mouth and references. And I think I would agree with that I wouldn't have done the business that I've done so far if I hadn't been going through Home Advisor. But ideally, I won't have to use them in the future. So anyway, that's a little bit of thoughts on that. If you're starting out and you get contacted by them, you can definitely have room to negotiate that initial kind of setup fee. So keep that in mind. And it's relatively user-friendly. Another option is you can reach out to directories. So if you just type in raccoon removal and the area that you want to be in, your area or whatever city you want, odds are there's some kind of generic directories or generic websites that pull up that look like they're specific to the area, but these are websites that these people that are super into building websites and search engine optimization, they've built these kind of authoritative websites about our industry, and so that they show up for certain areas. And then what all they do is, there'll be a contact now button on there and talk to a technician, whatever. But the owners of the website are just selling leads. So they have people that are set up to, when somebody clicks that call button, that call goes directly to an operator like myself, and it's just a flat rate per lead. The one, and I'm sure there are multiple ones, the one that I have experience with, actually just recently signed up, kind of trying it out. I reached out, and there was an opening, and I signed up. And I don't know if it was necessarily because of the area that was available or what. I definitely got a lot of calls, but it was a lot of junk calls. A lot of junk calls. A lot of, not necessarily a lot, but quite a few midnight crazy calls. So at this point, that's not something that I see as worthwhile. Maybe if you've got a better area, the thing with it is there's no turning it on or off, or requesting refunds and things like that. It is what it is. And I wound up paying a lot more. My percentage of I guess revenue versus ad spend is way skewed because of just 3 weeks. Definitely had an increased call volume, but because of all the junk calls, it really messed me up, and that's not something that I see as um, for me that has worked out well. So I'm getting out of that. Um, but that is something. I mean, and it probably makes sense for some of these bigger companies, that are just trying to get leads, and they're passing their leads off to salesmen or whatever, and uh, I don't know. I don't see that as a good option for a one man operator. That's been my experience. Maybe there are other areas that have better quality leads. I don't know. And then really the other option, and I know there's more, but I'm just going through a few that I'm familiar with, is Google Ads. And so you can set up Google Ads and send people right to your website. Oh, excuse me, sorry about that. The Google Ads, so you pay per click. So if somebody clicks on your ad and they don't call, you still pay for it. So and you're going to get some junk leads and junk calls with that. And the one thing with the Google Ads, and I still haven't got it perfected, because I ran some Google Ads recently, and I wasn't getting the conversions that I was wanting. And there's definitely, I mean, you're writing copy of what people see when your ad pops up, and so there's definitely some thought and some planning and some insight, I guess, that goes into that. But the one good thing about Google Ads is you can kind of schedule it out. So if you don't want calls after 8 p.m., you can set that. You can start them and stop them real easy. You can set your budget. Now, one thing that I would encourage you, one of the mistakes I made early on was I just did I just ran an ad targeting the keywords wildlife removal in a certain area. Well, that was a terrible idea, because nobody searches, somebody that's got a squirrel in their attic is not going to search wildlife removal. They're going to search squirrel in attic. So I got a bunch of junk calls there too, and I didn't get the good conversions. And so more recently, I tried to narrow it down to squirrels in the attic, and still some work in progress. But there's also, there's a lot of competition for that, because the big companies, the TruTechs and all the big companies, they're targeting that too. So you're talking about spending $20 to $30 per lead, probably best case scenario. Which, if you can convert, and you're targeting high dollar exclusion jobs, you can make it make sense. But it's all a learning curve. That's from what I've seen. These others, like Home Advisor and the kind of the directory websites, those are kind of a flip of the switch, but you don't control any of that. It's just you're relying on somebody else to get you leads, and if they decide they want to jack their price up, what are you going to say? No. I mean, so I'd like to tell you that Google Ads are the way to go. I haven't figured out how to make Google Ads work. It's something that, if that's something that you want to pursue, you're gonna have to dive into it and learn about it. Just like, and that's another thing about being a one man operation is, ideally you're out making money, setting traps and doing exclusion work, and then you got to come back and figure out how to run these ads, how to work these ads. And there's tons of courses that'll walk you through this stuff. So a couple that I'm familiar with, podcasts, and then they also have courses. Amy Porterfield and Rick Mulready. I actually took one of Rick Mulready's. It's been maybe 6 or 7 years ago now. His course on how to run Google Ads, and that was a Facebook Ads course. Yeah, now to come to think of it, I don't think I've taken a course on how to run Google Ads, so that might be worth doing. But there's definitely courses out there on how to run ads. And there's people that are putting content out there about how to run ads. So that's one of the weird things about, if you're trying to get into this business, is odds are you wanted to get into this business because you didn't like dealing with people. there's a lot more. You don't like dealing with computers and technical stuff, and now you need to build a website, figure out how to run ads, and have an online presence, and it can seem a little bit overwhelming. And like I said, you're going to get folks that are going to call you, wanting you to run. They'll say their sales points are. I just had one comment the other day that said, we just had an opening for one of the top spots on the Google Maps list, and we're looking for somebody to fill that, some business owner to fill that. Well, they didn't have an opening. Google does that all automatically through their algorithms. What they did was they're trying to sell ads, and they're going to sell you, them running ads for you. And so there's going to be a lot of calls like that, and in some cases, it might be best off to, go with their services. But it kind of complicates things and slows things down. But I do feel like it's beneficial to try to do some of this stuff yourself, so then at least when somebody's blowing smoke and when they're not. Because if you've got experience running ad campaigns through Google or whatever, then when you hear somebody trying to sell you things, and that's one of the things that I get kind of tickled to myself when I hear people trying to pitch me on search engine optimization and things. I've listened to hundreds of hours of podcasts and different things on search engine optimization. I mean, that's not something new to me. That being said, I haven't had the time to optimize my websites like I know they should be, and so there's some benefits to letting somebody else do it versus you. But at least I know, and at least if you tinker with it a little bit, you'll know what people are talking about, and you'll have an understanding, and so you'll know that you're not just getting railroaded or whatever. So anyway, I hope all that made sense. I hope it's beneficial. Like I said, to me, the biggest thing is having a website, having a web presence that you can send somebody to, and then over the long term, figuring out how you can build out that content, or how some of these other services can build out that content for you to help your website long term rank higher in Google for certain search terms, and that way long term, hopefully you're not having to pay somebody to do that every month, or you can get your payment down because of some of the payments that you did early on, if that makes sense. So that's my few cents on where and how to get more leads. I know there's a lot of other options, a lot of other ways, but that's a few that I have experience with. If you've got some thoughts, if you've got some other ideas, man, lay them on me, because I am definitely in the mind to get more leads and try to learn more and better myself. So hopefully we're all bettering together is what I'm hoping. And so with that, I'll give it back to you, and we'll catch you next time. Thanks for listening.